Arrogant millionaire son yelled at old woman. Her daughter's truth shocked him. What could possibly make a young man born into wealth, living a life of luxury, so entitled that he would humiliate an old woman just for walking slowly across the road? And more importantly, what truth could her daughter reveal that would break him down and force him to change forever? Ethan Montgomery, 24 years old, handsome, dressed in designer clothes, every gadget, every luxury car, every vacation you can imagine. He had it all. At least, that's what the world saw. Born to Richard Montgomery, a self-made millionaire in real estate, Ethan grew up never hearing the word no. Private schools, luxury sports cars for birthdays, the latest iPhone before it even hit stores. But while Ethan had everything, he lacked the one thing money couldn't buy: respect. He didn't respect his father, he didn't respect the staff, and he certainly didn't respect strangers. To Ethan, people outside his circle were background noise. If a valet opened his car door too slowly, he snapped. If a waiter spilled water by mistake, he mocked them loudly. And if a teacher dared to discipline him in college, he laughed. Do you know who my father is? Ethan wasn't just wealthy, he was arrogant, and everyone around him knew it. Everyone except Ethan himself. It was a bright Saturday morning when it happened. Ethan had just picked up his brand new Lamborghini, a custom-painted beast that purred like a panther and roared like thunder. He revved the engine outside his family's mansion, making sure the gardeners, the neighbors, anyone nearby would hear it. His friends, equally spoiled, were waiting inside the car. Let's take this baby for a spin, Ethan grinned, sunglasses on, ego bigger than the car itself. They tore through the city, ignoring speed limits, weaving between lanes, honking at anyone who dared drive under 80. People turned their heads, shaking them in disapproval. But Ethan didn't care. He lived for the attention. Until they reached the intersection. There she was, an elderly woman, frail, hunched slightly, clutching a shopping bag in one hand and her cane in the other. Slowly, carefully, she stepped onto the pedestrian crossing. The light was red for Ethan's lane. She had the right of way. But she wasn't fast. Every step was deliberate, almost painful. Ethan's friends sighed. Bro, come on, really? We're stuck behind her. Ethan smirked, tapping the steering wheel impatiently. The woman was halfway across when Ethan lost his patience. He slammed the horn. The Lamborghini blared so loudly that she startled, nearly dropping her bag. Move it, Grandma! Some of us have lives to live! Ethan yelled through the open window. His friends burst out laughing. One even recorded on his phone. The old woman looked at him, eyes filled not with fear, but with quiet disappointment. She continued walking, slower now, holding her cane tighter. But Ethan wasn't done. He revved the engine loudly, creeping forward as if to threaten to run her over. Come on, you're blocking the road! Hurry up before you fossilize out here! His friends howled. Cars behind him honked too, but not at her, at him. Drivers shook their heads in disgust. But Ethan only laughed louder, basking in the attention. Finally, she reached the other side. She paused, turning her head slightly toward Ethan, and in a calm, almost broken voice, she said, Young man, one day you will regret this. Ethan sneered. Yeah, right. Keep dreaming, Grandma. He sped off, leaving her behind in a cloud of exhaust. His friends cheered, fist-bumping him. To them, it was just another joke, another story to brag about later. But what none of them knew was that someone else had recorded the entire scene. not just his friends, but strangers, and by that evening, the video would be everywhere. That night, Ethan sat in his penthouse apartment, sipping champagne, scrolling through his phone. Then, he saw it. His own face, yelling from the Lamborghini window, plastered across social media. Rich jerk bullies old woman crossing street. Millionaire son shows no respect for the elderly. Shameful. Who raised this boy? The clip had gone viral. Thousands of shares, comments pouring in, people demanding accountability. Ethan laughed at first. Jealous nobodies. They wish they had my car, my life. But beneath the bravado, his stomach churned. Because among the sea of angry comments was a reply that stood out. A reply from someone named Anna Carter. And she wrote,
"That old woman you mocked? She's my mother. And you don't even know the truth about her. But soon, you will." By morning, Ethan's world had changed. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing, mentions, tags, notifications flooding in. At first, he smirked, thinking the attention was just envy. But as he scrolled, reality sunk in. Thousands of strangers were furious. Comments tore into him. Money doesn't buy class. What a disgrace to his family. Spoiled brat, wait until karma finds him. The video was now trending, picked up by news outlets. Journalists labeled him the arrogant heir. Talk shows mocked him. His name, his father's company, and even his luxury lifestyle, all dragged into the spotlight. Ethan's friends? They stopped replying. The same ones who laughed in his car last night had now gone silent. Nobody wanted their names tied to his scandal. For the first time, Ethan felt cornered. That afternoon, his father stormed into the penthouse. Richard Montgomery, the self-made millionaire, was not amused. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Richard's voice thundered. Ethan rolled his eyes. "Dad, it's just the internet. People will forget in a week." Richard slammed the table. "No, Ethan, this isn't about forgetting. This is about respect. That woman you mocked, she could have been anyone's mother, anyone's grandmother, and now our family name is a joke." Ethan, defensive, scoffed. "They're just jealous because I have what they don't." Richard's face hardened. "Jealous? Ethan, listen carefully. The world forgives mistakes, but it doesn't forgive arrogance. And if you don't fix this, you'll lose everything." Ethan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Deep down, though, his father's words hit a nerve. Later that week, as Ethan tried to escape the cameras and whispers, something unexpected happened. He walked out of a cafe, and there she was. Anna Carter. Mid-20s, dressed modestly, but with striking poise, her eyes sharp with controlled fire. She blocked his path, calm but unshakable. "You don't even know who you insulted, do you?" she said firmly. Ethan blinked. "Excuse me?" "My mother," Anna continued, voice steady. "The woman you yelled at in the street, that's my mother. And you think it was just a joke?" Ethan smirked nervously, trying to brush it off. "Look, I didn't mean anything by it. She was slow. I was in a hurry." Anna's eyes narrowed. "You humiliated her, in front of strangers, in front of cameras, and you think it's nothing? That woman you called grandma is stronger than you'll ever be. She's carried battles you can't even imagine, and without her, you wouldn't even be living in that mansion you love so much." Ethan frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" Anna looked him straight in the eyes. "If you had the courage, you'd sit down and hear her story. If not, keep hiding behind your cars and your money. But one day, the truth will catch you." With that, Anna turned and walked away, leaving Ethan frozen. The crowd murmured, recording every second. Ethan's image, already shredded online, now had a new layer of humiliation. He felt stripped bare. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Anna's words replayed in his mind. Without her, you wouldn't even be living in that mansion you love so much. What did she mean? His father never mentioned any connection to this woman. Could it be true? For the first time in years, Ethan felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. He paced the penthouse, glass of whiskey in hand, staring out at the skyline. If this woman had such a story, why did it matter? Why should he care? And yet, he couldn't shake it. The arrogance that once fueled him now clashed with curiosity. And curiosity always wins. The next morning, Richard called Ethan into his study. "I had a call last night from someone who saw the video. Do you know who that woman is?" Ethan shook his head. Richard sighed. "Her name is Mrs. Carter. Years ago, before I built this company, when I was broke, I almost gave up. I was ready to quit. But she stopped me. She believed in me when no one else did. She gave me the words that carried me through the hardest time of my life." Ethan's eyes widened. "What? That old woman?" Richard nodded. "Yes. And now you've shamed her publicly. If you don't fix this, Ethan, you're not just humiliating yourself. You're destroying everything I stand for." Ethan, for once, had no words. That night, Ethan sat in silence. No music, no parties, no friends. Just silence. Anna's words, his father's disappointment, the public's disgust. And somewhere deep inside, guilt. Finally, he whispered to himself, "Fine, I'll hear her story just to prove them wrong, just to understand." But little did he know, what he was about to hear from Mrs. Carter and Anna would break him in ways he never imagined.
Ethan never imagined he'd find himself here, standing outside a modest little house on the edge of the city. No mansion gates, no marble floors, no luxury cars in the driveway, just peeling paint, a small porch, and flower pots, lovingly cared for by an old woman with trembling hands. Anna opened the door before he could knock. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were sharp, as if daring him to run away. "You came," she said flatly. Ethan shoved his hands in his pockets. "Yeah, let's get this over with." Anna stepped aside. "Then prepare to hear the truth you've been blind to all your life." Inside, the living room smelled faintly of lavender and old books. On the wall hung faded photographs. A younger Mrs. Carter with her late husband, pictures of Anna at various ages, and even children who weren't family at all. Mrs. Carter sat in a worn-out chair by the window, her cane beside her. She looked up, her eyes kind but steady. So the boy from the Lamborghini finally decided to visit the woman he nearly ran down. Ethan swallowed hard, caught off guard by her composure. He muttered, I didn't mean—" She raised a hand, stopping him. "You don't need to excuse yourself. Not yet. First, you need to listen." Mrs. Carter began slowly, her voice steady despite the weight of memory. "Years ago, before you were even born, I was a school teacher. Not a glamorous job, not well paid, but I loved it. I taught children who came from broken homes, children who thought they would never amount to anything. I believed in them when nobody else did." She glanced at Ethan. "Your father was one of them." Ethan's eyes widened. My father?" Mrs. Carter nodded. "Yes, Richard Montgomery. He wasn't always the man you know now. Back then, he was just a poor young man with more failures than successes. He worked odd jobs, barely had enough to eat,
and many nights he told me he was ready to give up on his dreams. Ethan frowned. He'd always heard his father talk about working hard, but never about someone guiding him. Mrs. Carter continued. One night, he stayed late after class. He told me he was done, that life had beaten him. He wanted to quit, to walk away from everything. But I looked him in the eye and told him, if you quit now, you'll regret it forever. You have something inside you worth fighting for. Her eyes grew misty. I didn't give him money. I couldn't. But I gave him belief. And sometimes that's worth more than gold. Anna spoke up now, filling in the silence. What my mother won't tell you is that she sacrificed more than belief. When my father passed away, she worked 3 jobs to raise me. She gave up her health, her comfort, even her chance at a better life, so that kids like your father could succeed. Mrs. Carter smiled faintly. I don't regret it. Every child I taught was worth it. And when your father finally built his first company, he came back and thanked me. He said he owed me everything. Do you know what I told him? You don't owe me a thing. Just promise you'll never forget where you came from. She paused, her eyes heavy with meaning. And yet, here we are, his son, screaming at me in the street as if I were nothing. Ethan's throat tightened. He shifted in his chair, unable to meet her gaze. His arrogance, his shield, was cracking. You helped my father? Mrs. Carter nodded. Yes, and the life you live now, the cars, the penthouse, the privilege, it exists partly because of a lesson I gave him. And yet, you looked at me and saw only a burden crossing the road. Her words cut deeper than any insult. For the first time, Ethan felt truly small. I didn't know, he whispered. Anna's voice was sharp. That's the problem. You never cared to know. You think money makes you above everyone. But without people like her, your family would still be struggling to survive. Mrs. Carter leaned forward, her frail hands gripping the cane. Ethan, arrogance blinds us. It makes us believe we are gods when we are nothing more than dust. I have seen bright boys like you destroy themselves because they thought respect could be bought. But let me tell you this, the day you lose respect for others is the day you lose yourself. Her words echoed like thunder in Ethan's chest. He looked down, his eyes burning. For the first time in years, tears pricked his vision. Anna stood and walked to the wall, pulling down an old photo frame. She handed it to Ethan. Inside the frame was a picture of Richard Montgomery, young, thin, in second-hand clothes. Standing beside him was Mrs. Carter, smiling proudly with her arm around him like a son. Ethan's hands shook as he held it. This is the man you worship as untouchable, Anna said. Your father, humbled, lost, and guided by the same woman you mocked. Do you see now? Your arrogance is not inherited. It's your own poison. And if you don't change, it will destroy you. Silence filled the room. Ethan's chest rose and fell, struggling against the weight of truth. Finally, he whispered, I'm sorry. But Mrs. Carter shook her head. Don't say sorry to me. Show it. Change how you treat others. Use your wealth to lift people up, not push them down. That's the only apology I'll ever accept. Ethan's lip trembled. For once, he wasn't speaking like a spoiled heir. He was speaking like a broken man. And in that moment, something inside him shifted. As Ethan left the house, Anna walked him to the door. Her voice was stern but softer now. You have a choice. You can walk away, pretend none of this happened, and keep living in your bubble. Or you can honor what my mother did. You can finally grow into the man your father hoped you'd be. Ethan nodded slowly. I don't know how, but I want to try. Anna studied him carefully, then simply said, "We'll see." Ethan stepped into the cool night air, his Lamborghini gleaming under the streetlight. But for the first time, he didn't feel proud of it. He felt ashamed.
Back in his penthouse, Ethan couldn't sleep. The city lights flickered outside his window, but inside, he was haunted by Mrs. Carter's words. He replayed the moment, her frail voice saying, "The day you lose respect for others is the day you lose yourself." For years, he thought respect came from flashy cars, exclusive parties, and expensive suits. But now, all he felt was emptiness. He looked at his reflection in the mirror, the tailored suit, the gold watch, the arrogant smirk he always wore. But tonight, he saw only a boy hiding behind wealth. The next morning, Ethan confronted his father, Richard Montgomery, in his private office. "Dad," Ethan said, voice trembling, "why didn't you ever tell me about Mrs. Carter?" Richard looked up, startled. He slowly removed his glasses. "I was waiting for the day you'd ask, but you never did." Ethan's jaw tightened. "She said you wouldn't be who you are without her." Richard leaned back, his expression softening. "She's right. When I was at my lowest, she was the only one who believed in me. Son, everything you see around you, this company, this fortune, it all traces back to her encouragement. I never wanted you to take that for granted." Ethan's throat burned. "But I did. I screamed at her like she was nothing." Richard's eyes filled with disappointment. "Then make it right, Ethan. Money doesn't erase mistakes. Only actions do." For the first time in his life, Ethan canceled his schedule of luxury brunches and business meetings. Instead, he drove, not his Lamborghini, but an old sedan from the family garage. He pulled up to Mrs. Carter's modest home again, heart pounding. Anna opened the door, wary. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Ethan's voice was quiet but firm. "I came to make things right." Mrs. Carter was sitting in her chair as before. Ethan knelt down before her, shocking even himself. "I was arrogant. I treated you like you didn't matter, but you matter more than I'll ever understand. My father is who he is because of you, and if I can do even half of what you did for him, maybe I can finally deserve the life I've been given." He placed an envelope on the table. Anna frowned. "What is this, a payoff?" Ethan shook his head. "No, it's a scholarship fund, in your name, for kids like my father once was. Kids who just need someone to believe in them. I want your legacy to live on." Mrs. Carter's lips trembled. She covered her mouth with her hand, tears filling her eyes. Anna crossed her arms, still skeptical. "Words are easy. Money is easier for people like you. How do I know this isn't just another rich man's guilt trip?" Ethan looked at her, sincerity burning in his eyes. "Because I'm not stopping there. I don't just want to throw money at the problem. I want to show up. I'll mentor, I'll spend time, I'll actually get my hands dirty. You don't have to believe me now. Just let me prove it." Anna studied him for a long moment. Finally, she nodded slowly. "Then prove it. Actions, not promises." Weeks passed. For the first time, Ethan traded cocktail parties for community centers. Instead of racing Lamborghinis, he was teaching teenagers about business,
guiding them on building dreams without shortcuts. The arrogant smirk faded. In its place grew something rare, humility. And every Friday evening, Ethan visited Mrs. Carter, not to boast, not to show off, but to listen, to hear her stories, to absorb the wisdom he once mocked. The boy who had once yelled at an old woman in the street was slowly becoming a man worth respecting. One evening, Anna caught Ethan helping a group of students carry boxes of donated books. His suit was wrinkled, his hands dirty, sweat dripping from his forehead, but he was smiling. She approached, arms crossed, but her expression softer. "You're different," she admitted. Ethan chuckled. "I'm trying." Anna's gaze lingered on him. "For the first time, I think my mother's faith in people might not be misplaced." Her words were cautious, but for Ethan, they felt like a second chance. Months later, at a major company event, Richard Montgomery stood at the podium. But instead of announcing a new project, he invited Mrs. Carter onto the stage. "Everything I built," Richard told the crowd, "began with this woman's belief in me, and now my son is carrying that torch forward." The audience erupted in applause as Ethan stepped up beside Mrs. Carter. For once, he wasn't basking in glory, he was humbled to stand in her shadow. After the event, Mrs. Carter leaned on her cane, smiling faintly at Ethan. "You've changed," she said softly. Ethan nodded. "Because you reminded me of what really matters." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then remember this. Wealth fades, beauty fades, power fades, but kindness leaves a mark no time can erase." Tears stung Ethan's eyes. "I won't forget." And so, the arrogant millionaire's son who once yelled at an old woman in the street was humbled by the truth. He learned that behind every success story lies a forgotten hand, a sacrifice, a voice of encouragement that changed everything. Ethan discovered that true wealth isn't measured in cars or penthouses or bank accounts. True wealth lives in respect, humility, and the lives we touch along the way. Because sometimes the person we least expect holds the key to who we are meant to become.